Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Peter here from All Jiu-Jitsu with episode number 19 of our BJJ business podcast. Today we're talking business with Hussein Abbas-Zade. Originally from Azerbaijan, Hussein now lives in Oslo, Norway and runs a BJJ business called JitsButikk. It's an online store that he started a couple of years ago through recognizing a niche in the market and understanding the intricacies of procurement of gear and dealing with the customs. In this episode, Hussein explains how he got started with the business, how it developed over time, how he expanded, and as always, some key learnings along the way. A really interesting story of a local business and focusing on things you are good at rather than trying to replicate the general model. As always, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you do, please help us out by subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Spotify, and giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a follow on Instagram at All Jiu-Jitsu. We are ready. Hussein, thanks very much for joining All Jiu-Jitsu podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. So a lot of things to talk about. You have a very entrepreneurial spirit, let's say, and a lot of people were directing me towards you, say you have to talk to the guy in the format of our podcast. But generally, I think a lot of people are, with the guests that we have, sometimes people are familiar with them, with their story, and we don't really go into their background story too much. But with you, I want people to understand a little bit more where you come from, how you started with Jiu-Jitsu, and eventually we'll feed this into your kind of business side of things. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Azerbaijan originally, so we moved to Norway like 14 years ago. And I remember I was a skinny little guy who always dreamed of fighting, but I could never fight. So then suddenly one guy from Azerbaijan, he won the Olympic Games. And then I just thought, yeah, if he can win, why can't I win? And then I just started to train judo, and then I slightly went over to jiu-jitsu because judo in Norway wasn't that good. But jiu-jitsu at that time was one of the best in Europe. So then I decided to train at frontline. And I never looked back since then.
So it's how many years have you been training at this point?
7 years of jiu-jitsu.
Nice. And you are a brown belt at the moment?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Perfect. So training in Frontline Academy, obviously it's the biggest academy in Norway, in Oslo. And so you started then, obviously training, competing around the world. And then at what point did you start making certain, like, let's say, commercial activities around Jiu-Jitsu?
I think it started actually pretty late. At that time I was sponsored by Kings, like 2 years ago. We were in United States. And then, since I was sponsored by Kings, I have never really been interested in what what the gi costs are in Norway. So when I was in the United States, and then I talked to the guy, a very good friend of mine who works at Kings as well, and then we talked a little bit about the prices and stuff, and then I decided to buy 10 gis with me, just to see if I could sell them on my way back, because as a jiu-jitsu athlete, all the time you sponsor your trips yourself. So I just saw an opportunity to sponsor my trip by selling those gis. And when I came here, I think I sold those gis in a matter of 2 or 3 days. That's when I woke up and I was like, oh shit, this people want King's gis in Norway as well. And that's how it started.
And so tell us then a little bit about what was the difference in terms of why did people just suddenly want to buy them off you and not, let's say, go onto the website or something like this?
Why people wanted to buy from me and not from the website?
Yeah. So how did you manage to sell those 10 gis? Why were they in such a huge demand again? Well, yeah. We're talking small terms, but still, to get rid of the stock so easily.
Yeah, the main reason is because Norway and Norway's import taxes. Because if you buy something to Norway, since it's not in the European Union, you will have to pay additional 35% taxes. So I think that was the reason why people knew that since this geese already are in Norway, they won't have to pay additional costs. So that's why it was a pretty good deal for them. So basically, that's the thing that's stopping most of people in Norway to do businesses is the customs, because every time you import something, you have to pay like, as I said, 35%. So yeah, I think that's the reason why people want to buy them from me.
And obviously that makes a lot of sense. And but how did you go about and did you straight away have a idea, like, okay, can we grow this into like an actual shop, like an online store, or was it still kind of just a once-off type of thing?
First it was like, okay, let me buy 10 more geese, let me buy 15 more geese, and then as time went by and I saw that this is really going, then I was thinking, okay, let me the first thing I started was Instagram shop, because I didn't if you open an Instagram account, then you don't need investments, right? You just open an account, put some pictures of the products, and then you say, okay, if you want to buy this is the price, blah blah blah, right? Very easy. And and I think also I was really lucky with the name of the shop, JitsButikk, because butikk means shop in Norwegian, and jits, it's everybody knows what jits is, right? So after a month or two, anywhere I went, everybody is like, oh, this is Mr. JitsButikk, like everybody's calling me Mr. JitsButikk right now. So and after that I got contacted by BJJ Fight Gear, and they said BJJ Fight Gear, I don't know if you know, but they're really big in the Europe. So when they called me, then I realized, oh shit is just I not that I made it, but I thought if they contact me and want to make a deal, it means that I've been doing something right. So they said they could help me with the website, and also except the website, they could connect their stock to the website I had. And for me it was like brilliant, because then I should on the Instagram it's too much struggle to answer everyone, especially when the orders when you get more orders, you have to answer everyone, find their sizes and stuff. But with the website it was a huge game changer, because now I basically just basically people order and then I just send the keys to them. So life has become much easier, and thanks to BJJ Fight Gear and Kings, of course.
And so it makes a lot of sense, obviously, because the stock management is different. But I like that you started with as you said, a very low risk approach, right? It's like Instagram page literally costs zero to set up, put up a few photos, and again, if you just it's effort more than anything, right? It's just maintaining. So was it hard to gain that initial momentum, or was it just smooth from the very start?
It wasn't always smooth, but I think at that time I was competing a lot, so I was really active in the Norwegian Jiu-Jitsu society, so everybody knew me. And even though I didn't win everything I was competing in, I think people saw that I'm really grinding anyways, like never giving up, grinding my way to the top. So I think maybe that was also something that helped me to connect with the people who train jiu-jitsu, because I was an active athlete at that time. And about the Instagram, the thing is, people often they think that, oh, in order for me to start a business, I need a capital, I need a website, I need this, I need that. But I think that's only excuses that you tell to yourself. Actually, you can just open Facebook page, Instagram page, and just use your own account to
to
promote yourself.
So yeah, as I said, it's more effort than anything else, right? It's and that's, I presume, that's kind of your approach to everything else, right? You not making excuses in terms of capital or no capital or whatnot. So it's just literally effort, connections, building yourself up. And again, I like that you understand your value in Norwegian jiu-jitsu community specifically, and you say, okay, this is something I have, it's probably better than any capital, because you know what I mean, if you come in, nobody knows you, and you have like way more capital, you probably won't be able to achieve that if you don't build those relationships, right?
That's true, yeah. So relationships, very often when people sell their businesses, it's usually undervalued, because except the business, you also have the contacts, you have the relationships you have built with your friends or business partners. That's something that I don't remember what that's called, but that's the value that nobody sees. So you have to also think about those values, because as an athlete, okay, let's say you don't have a capital, but you have a lot of contacts, right? You have surely inspired a lot of people at your gym to train harder, to make their lives better. So alone that gives you the power of influencing people. So,
for sure. And when you got started originally, were most of your customers like people that you knew directly already, or were there some people that they were just from the area, from the wider jiu-jitsu community that you didn't know?
The first 10 gigs, it was from my own club, from Frontline Academy. And then, this guy told to another guy. And then, but it's only when I started to sell gigs on Instagram that I got customers from all over Norway. So Instagram helped me a lot to widen out my horizon in Norway.
And I remember, I think, again, because I think I've been following your kind of personal page for a bit, and when you started publishing this again, I took a note of that, and I also saw that you were kind of really deep into customer service, right? You were like basically hand delivering the geese, right? You were literally driving them around and not just sending them by post, but literally bringing the geese to people. Is that right?
That's right, man. Sometimes I remember I even drove like 30 minutes away from Oslo just to make it personal, because I felt that was the only thing I had, being more personal with the customers, and see who my customers are, to get to know them better.
So, and they in turn show, I guess, some loyalty down the line to you as well, because they appreciate the fact that they don't need to wait for delivery from some random person, but it's kind of you're delivering them yourself. And it's a small thing, it's a tiny thing, but again, as you said, like it's something that you have that nobody else can provide, especially as they get bigger. I guess even now that you are becoming bigger, it becomes a little bit more problematic, I guess, to deliver every gi by hand. But back when you started, that was your advantage, basically, right?
Yeah, but even people who didn't know me, when they see a guy with the cauliflower ears coming with a gi, they're like, "Oh, you're not a delivery guy." I'm like, "Yeah, it's my shop, so it's the gi you order and stuff." So we had some pretty funny moments at some deliveries. But in Oslo, if it's not so far away, I still deliver myself until today, because it's JitsButikk, it's what we do.
Yeah,
One.
And you have so originally you have started with Kings, right? Which is I believe it's kind of the whole kind of fighters market guys in the UK. So they were your primary suppliers of your goods. Have you expanded that somehow now through BJJ Fight Gear?
Yeah, originally we had only Kings. And then when the guy at Kings, he told me that actually Kings and Fighters Market, they are in the same building. I said, really? Why are you telling me that now? And then suddenly I expanded from one brand to 7-8 different brands, because they had a lot of more brands at Fighters Market. All right. And then I think that's why BJJ Fight Gear contacted me, because they were losing customers in Norway. And now I have basically every possible gi brand there is in Europe. So that's the thing with the JitsButikk. It's basically you can buy every gi you want, except all the new ones from the USA and stuff. So.
And in terms of your stock management now, do you have to stock all these gis in Norway, or do you kind of collaborate with them? That they send you from their main store?
Originally we was talking about that maybe I buy 100 geese from them and I will have stock them at my place. But that wouldn't be the business model I always wanted to do, because the business model I want to do is that I don't have any stock. So I only buy a gi if I know that this gi has been ordered, right? So what we do right now is that since our websites are connected, both with Kings and with BJJ 5 year, so when people buy from me first, then I buy this gi again from Kings, they send it to me, and then I deliver it. So in that way, I have basically no risk.
Yeah, so you take basically just you're a sort of intermediary that makes the life easier for both for the guys on the supply side and
easier and cheaper as well, because if they buy directly through Kings or BJJ 5 year, they're gonna end up paying maybe 20-25 euros more than if they buy it from me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And have you been kind of thinking this model through, or did you just kind of logically arrive to it? So have you had a moment where you say, hey, I need to sit down and actually plan this out, how my business is going to look? Or is it just kind of one thing comes after another and then, it molds into something that it is now?
If I'm gonna be honest, like in the beginning, I didn't even know you could do something like that. I just bought geese and I sold them. That's it, right? But when, like, after a few months, when I saw that I still have some geese that they're not selling, right? They're just at home, taking unnecessary space. That's when I thought, okay, this is the business model I should do. That people first order, and then they get. I order the geese to my place.
Yeah.
So
minimize the risk a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Minimize the risk.
And have you ever thought of, like, because I think a lot of people, when they start going down the route of some form of entrepreneurship in jiu-jitsu, they have this, I'll just create my own brand or something like this. Have you ever had an idea like this that is like, hey, maybe I should make the gis myself, or were you always just happy with, maybe it was before even you got in touch with Kings or anything like that?
No, I have never thought about that. To be honest, sometimes people write, I want to buy JitsButikk rush guard, I want to buy JitsButikk gi, but the main thing here is that we connect all the other brands to people, right? So I don't want to suddenly go to the fabric, talk with them, make a new gi, because I will be honest, I cannot do that, right? I don't know how you should make a gi. I don't know what is the best gi material, who I should talk to and stuff. So and when it comes down to that, you maybe earn $10 or $5 more, right? So I don't think that's worth the struggle.
Yeah, so you kind of leaving this side to the guys that are really good at what they do. Absolutely. and you keep doing what you are good at, which is connecting the brands with people, providing the good customer service, delivering whatnot, and and
because
again,
Kings BJJ 5 year, they have been doing this for years. Now they have good connections to the factories, they have good prices and everything. So for me, starting to do that, I think it would be a little bit unnecessary. And also, after all those helps I have gotten from Kings and BJJ 5 year, I think it's unethical to do that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you still sell anything through your Instagram page, or is everything now fully through the website?
I still sell something from Instagram.
And do you try to kind of move people to the website, or are you kind of happy with the both?
The thing is, when people use the website, it's much less work for me, right? But when people send me a message on Instagram, it's usually because they have some questions that they cannot ask at the website. And like special needs, maybe, let's say they need a jacket A2 and pants a bit longer, a bit wider, or something like that. That's when they use Instagram. So I try to help them my best. So still, the website is more popular now, but Instagram is still active as well.
Nice. And are you still a one-man operation, or do you have anybody else working with you?
My brother sometimes helps me. but until, because as you know already, it's not so much work, right? It's only getting the keys and delivering them. So for now, it's me, my brother, and sometimes my girlfriend helps me to package the keys. So it's only basically home business, family business right now.
Nice. And do you have, so when the guys from wherever, whether it's Kings or BJJ Fight Gear, when they send the stock over to you, do you have to then repackage it to put so what's the repackaging process? Is that just putting the labels on and, to get them sent out?
The thing is, we don't put any JitsButikk labels, right? The only thing maybe we put is the just a small JitsButikk patch, right? If they want to use it, thank you. If not, I tried, right? Yes. But the process is that they send me a big box with different gis inside, different brands, everything that has been ordered through the week, and then I open it and then I send it individually to the guys delivered. So that's the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I also saw that, I don't know, I haven't been following that part, but you're planning at least to expand into Russia and perhaps some other markets. Has that happened already?
Yeah, we already operate in Russia. There's a very good friend of mine. He does basically the same in Russia. And the only struggle there is that they're a little bit more strict on the import taxes, and we need to work on some other jurisdictional things. We have to maybe set up an online store there. But for now, it's mainly Instagram in Russia.
Mainly Instagram. Okay, yeah, because as I said, I would also be aware of that, and it is a little bit stricter, especially on the cross-border. Things get confiscated.
Yeah,
left and right.
There was 100 geese on their way to Russia, and then suddenly, man, it was early in the morning. I've got like 20 calls from the guys. They're like, bro, they want to send the geese back. Things, that was really chaos.
Well, if they want to send it back, it's not the biggest problem. Sometimes you just take them and you don't see your stock ever again. So it wouldn't be the biggest problem.
Yeah, luckily it hasn't happened yet. So they just send it back. So we ended up paying twice. Well, actually, we almost ended up paying twice. But then the guy from the Kings, he helped us with half of it, at least. He said you don't have to pay anything. So we were, as I say, I'm really happy for the guys I'm working with, both with Kings and BJJ Fight Gear. They have been helping me a lot. So
that's awesome. And what have you, like, again, it can be quite tricky, the situation, when you're starting out like this without any, like, significant structure in place. So what were some of the key kind of learnings, I guess, along the way over the last few years since you started? Any crazy stories, or something that you wouldn't do again, or vice versa, something that you learned and you keep repeating now?
Man, just say, because when I I don't know if that's it, basically in the beginning there were some things I did not 100% legal, because I didn't know. I really literally didn't know, because when I got the 10 geese with me to Norway, I actually should declare them. But at that time I have never done sales, I have never done shops, things like that. So I didn't know that I should declare them, right? So that's why after 2 or 3 visits with the geese, then someone told me you should actually declare them since you're selling them, right? Because if you sell them and you're doing business out of it, that's when you have to declare and pay the additional taxes. So in the beginning, we had some situations like that where I really didn't know, but now luckily everything is legal. I have learned everything I should learn. So
yeah, that's I guess a very important point, is like when you are getting started like this, as I said, sometimes you simply don't know, but down the line, especially as you're growing, not knowing, what I mean, if somebody comes knocking at your door, especially, some places when it comes to tax are a little bit more strict than the others. Let's say again, you go to Russia, you can get in trouble for for stuff, and not knowing something doesn't really come in as an excuse, right? You know what I mean? It's like the ignorance is not an excuse. So it's important, especially if you are planning to make something real out of it, if you're planning to grow your business into something substantial.
If it's short term, like maybe you could do something and get away with that, right? But if you want to do it long term, then you should learn every aspect of the business, like both when it comes to taxes, to basically everything.
And do you do that, all of that part, like your taxes, your accounting? Is it yourself still, or do you seek any?
Not anymore. I did it in the beginning, but now that we have been growing, so our revenue is much bigger than it was last year. So now I don't, I can't do it the way the guy does, right? Because he's a specialist. So in things like that, I always lean towards to pay a little bit extra to the specialist to do it the perfect way, than to do it myself.
And what other services, I guess, do you need to get from the outside? So again, the core of the business, the promotion, the marketing, everything else you do yourself. Accounting is outsourced. What is there any other part of your business that you decided I don't want to touch, and I want somebody else to deal with that?
As I said, like making the geese, making the brands. I totally don't want to go inside that, at least for now, because I know that Kings and those guys are doing they know what to do. Other than that, there is not much to outsource. As I said, it's very simple. I just have created a platform where people can buy cheap geese, quality cheap geese. Quality geese for cheap prices. Quality cheap geese. So basically, So sometimes. Maybe I have a friend. He works on a logistic. He drives around. Sometimes when I'm away, I tell him, brother, can you please deliver this geese? And then he just sends me an invoice later. But other than that, nothing else.
And that's my next question was in relation to your deliveries outside of Oslo, outside of your kind of immediate surroundings. Do you use any like delivery companies, specific delivery companies, or is it just kind of general post, like Norwegian Post or something like this?
In the beginning, we used a general Norwegian Post, which was actually pretty expensive. But now there is a new company which is basically delivering anywhere in Norway for half the price. So now we use them, of course, because it's also cheaper for customers to pay for it.
And are you at this point in a position to have like a business account? Because I'm always wondering, I know like a few of the kind of the big brands, they would have their dedicated relationship with those companies, whether it's like DHL or something like this, they will have like an account manager who will look after them because the volumes are so high. Are you still like doing like a once-off transactions with them, or do you have like an account where you can, send a bunch of stuff and then receive an invoice for?
This new company, actually I contacted them and I asked if they could send me invoice once a month, and then they said in order to send you invoice once a month, then your orders need to be like 2,000 in a month.
Okay.
And it's not even 2,000 people training jiu-jitsu in Norway. I said, okay, I will call you when when jiu-jitsu gets more popular in Norway.
Your market, so obviously you're predominantly operating in Norway. Do you do other Scandinavian countries as well?
Sometimes we get messages from Sweden, and then I just directly send them to Kings Europe, or it depends which gi brand they want. But usually they contact me for ballistico gis from Kings, which are really popular. So I just tell them it's much easier for you guys to order directly from Kings.
Because Sweden is in the EU, right?
Yes, and they don't have the same problem that we have in Norway.
Yes, makes sense. And so you said less than 2,000 people training in Norway. Is that right, or what's the market like? Do you see it growing in Norway?
I think it's let's say maximum maybe 3,000 people are training. In my opinion, I haven't really researched that yet. But in our club, which is one of the biggest in Norway, we have 1,100 people training, right? And not everyone trains jiu-jitsu, of course, but let's say 700 of them train jiu-jitsu. And then we have some other clubs that are not quite as big, but let's say some have 400 jiu-jitsu guys maximum. And then we have these small jiu-jitsu gyms all over the country, like Ferguson, Tommy, Espen, where they train. Maybe maximum 3,000, 4,000 people, but not more than that.
And do you think it's going to grow? So even from your business perspective, how are you looking at this? I say, okay, the market is going to grow, jiu-jitsu is going to become more popular. So how are you looking at your initial market?
I think it's going to grow because especially jiu-jitsu, it's not it's a new sport, right? It's I think it's going to grow, especially because of the UFC and stuff. Things are grappling is always popular there, right? And people in my and your age, let's say you're 30 years old, right? You have never done any sports before, and then you're thinking, what should I start? Would you start kickboxing where you get punched in your face, or would you start jiu-jitsu, which is more elegant? You can still go 100% without hurting anyone, right? So jiu-jitsu is a very good sport actually for everyone to train. So I think it's gonna grow.
So yeah, so it's a lot more accessible for sure to other ages, and then from your market perspective, what are you looking at when you think about your business and you say, okay, what do I do next? How do I grow this, or do you want to grow it at all? Are you kind of satisfied where it is? So what is your thinking for the future?
For sure, we want to be right now we are the number one provider for geese in Norway. But for sure, if the market's gonna grow, my main goal is still to be number one. Still provide the best geese for best price they can find in Norway. So, but other areas that we try to grow now lately is the jiu-jitsu food market, because now we started with acai. Which is actually pretty hard to find in Norway. And it's also mainly in Oslo, because the thing is, it's frozen, so you cannot really send it to the other areas. But, when it was in Corona times, when nobody needs geese, nobody trains, I think that's what we sold most, acais and grip trainers for hands, things like that, people can train at home.
So kind of foods and small accessories that people can get. Yeah, and obviously, so it's very interesting because your entire kind of model is obviously it's solving a specific problem, as we spoke before. It's the whole customs situation and people to buy things individually. Let's say individual items. It's a lot more expensive than for you to have them imported in bulk and then redistributing. So I guess there's very little space to grow then outside of Norway or locations like Russia. So are there any other geographies that you're looking at that could potentially you could expand to?
I tried Azerbaijan. We tried to start in Azerbaijan. We actually have still an active Instagram page on Azerbaijan. The thing in Azerbaijan is that the prices that we buy the geese for, they are really expensive if you compare it to Azerbaijani salaries, right? So for people to pay, let's say, $130 for a gi, it's crazy when they can find a Chinese, Pakistani gi with no brand for let's say $20. Nobody would pay, even if it's the best brand in the world, even if Leandro Lu has fought world championships in it, and it's like, take this gi, nobody would pay so much for a gi in Azerbaijan. So that was a small mistake which I learned from. So still we have some gis that are available at my mother's place. So if somebody wants, I just send them. I say, okay, here's the gi, you can pick it up. But it doesn't go as well as I thought it should. So, but it again, you learn by doing, right? I would never know it if I wouldn't try.
Exactly, exactly. And then again, as always, when you have some idea, you are sure it's the best idea ever, right? And it's like then you try something, it's like, and then the reality hits you, and sometimes the reality is good, something you didn't expect. Like in your first exchanges, I guess in Norway, you probably didn't expect it to go so well, whereas you go in Azerbaijan, where you think you know the business inside out already, and it just bam, nothing is
And
working.
and I thought like, man, this is Azerbaijan. We like to wrestle. We like this. We like that. It's gonna go for sure, 100%. I'm gonna be rich. And then 2 weeks later, only one order. I'm like, okay, man, never mind. Next time.
And do you think, in a way, the fact that jiu-jitsu gis and the gear especially is a little bit expensive for the regions like Azerbaijan, even for my own home region in the south of Russia, it's like most gis, I mean, they're the same prices as in Europe, and like it's insane, it's crazy. Even if I translate into currency, it's like I would never buy that. It's way too expensive. And do you think it's somewhat restrictive? The fact that it's somewhat restrictive, does that inhibit the growth of jiu-jitsu in Azerbaijan in any way? How do you see the jiu-jitsu developing there?
I think this has not so much to do with the development of jiu-jitsu, because I think it's more mindset of the people. You know, they since they don't earn so much, people say, okay, why should I pay 4 times more if I can get the same thing, even if it's not branded, right? If I can just pay cheaper and get it that way. So I think because jiu-jitsu in Azerbaijan is really good. You know, when I was there, only in the capital we had like 7 or 8 different clubs. So I visited every club, was rolling with everyone and stuff. So the jiu-jitsu grows, but the business model, I think, if you want to do something there, you should import gis that are convenient for people to buy. You know, you don't want to, and also, you know, for me personally, I don't want to sell a gi to a guy when I know that this guy, he earns, let's say 100, 200 euros in a month. I don't want to push a gi to him for 100 euros, because then my conscience wouldn't let me. Like, I would rather just give it to him for a price I buy, just like, okay, to break even and know that this guy goes to training, than to earn something on it. So it's different.
So there's a bit of ethical questions then, right? What do you want to achieve at what cost, in what environment? But so my question then was, you don't think that the high prices are affecting the growth of jiu-jitsu? So the jiu-jitsu in Azerbaijan is growing, right?
Yeah. The only thing that's affecting Azerbaijan in jiu-jitsu is that we have really good wrestling. Sometimes you go on jiu-jitsu trainings, you see guys wrestling at standing wrestling, and I'm like, man, it's jiu-jitsu training. If you want to wrestle, go to wrestling training. Otherwise, you would never learn jiu-jitsu this way, you know. So the ego is the only thing that's stopping the jiu-jitsu from growing like to high levels.
That's interesting. And again, it's very similar to my region where I come from. It's all wrestlers, but I'm hoping that they will transfer to jiu-jitsu. We see more grapplers out of the Caucasian region and Caucasus. Then I think the wrestling is impeccable. And the thing is that not everybody can succeed at the highest level in wrestling, but the athleticism and the skill level is so high that they could easily transfer to jiu-jitsu if, as you said, the ego goes down and you're willing to learn a few things.
Yeah, that's the only thing actually, because they're really talented. As you said, we are really good in wrestling, and if you're good in wrestling, then you can adapt every sport you want. But you have to kill your ego. You have to be open-minded to learn new things. You know, I was there once, and then there was a really good wrestler, and I was wrestling with him, and then I submitted him like 8 times during the first 4 or 5 minutes, and then he's like, "Okay, stand up, let's." I was like, "Why should I stand up, my jiu-jitsu?" He was really pissed. And then you know, he's like, no, stand up. And then I stood up, and luckily I knew some judo, so he didn't like rip me off. He still was better than me, but the ego there is insane. Ego is good, but you have to know when to use it, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like you said, it goes to for jiu-jitsu guys as well. Again, if you want to learn, because the rule set change as well. If you want to succeed in ADCC, for example, you need to know a bit of wrestling, a bit of stand-up game. So I guess goes both ways, right? You can't just be saying, "Oh, jiu-jitsu is the only good thing." And the good thing, the way I always put it, the good thing about jiu-jitsu, you can incorporate everything into it. You can incorporate wrestling, you can incorporate judo. Is the least limiting in theory.
Yeah,
but then again, it's how you put yourself and how you decide to learn and for what purpose. I guess if you're competing in a particular rule set, then your game will be tailored towards that. So yeah, makes sense. So any other ideas then for in your head aside from JitsButikk or anything like that, that you are developing, or have you had time to think of something new during this lockdown period?
I have started with dropshipping. I don't know if you have heard about it.
Yeah,
so we are basically building websites and trying to sell new trendy things. So I even implemented some dropshipping products to our website in Norway, JitsButikk. Mainly things that the thing is, we have a really strong brand name in Norway now. So I'm really careful with which products I put in there, because sometimes dropshipping, you never know what you get. You order something that looks perfect in the video, and then you get a quality you didn't know existed, right? So that's why it has been taking some time now, but now I already have a dropshipping collection as well at JitsButikk. And also we are there are 2-3 dropshipping ideas we have. We already built 2 websites that we will maybe start selling from during this week, and let's just see how it goes. As you know, the thing is, we talked about that yesterday with guys as well. There are some analytical guys who they think, I have a very good friend of mine, Muhammad, and we have been together all over the world competing and stuff, and he's very analytical, right? If he does one thing, he will research, he will go from all the sides, all the aspects, he will ask everyone, and then he will do it. And which I will just do it, and then I will see if it doesn't work, then I will figure out some other way, or I'll just say, okay, it doesn't work. So this is this is my plan now with this dropshipping. I will just try. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, I will most probably learn something from it and build on it.
Yeah, as they say, try and fail, and if it fails, fail fast and start again, doing something else. And I know this too well myself. In terms of, I would also be historically, I was always analytical with everything. Even starting a podcast, something simple like that. You know what I mean? I would have to research every type of microphone there is, or headphones and stuff, and then almost having to push myself to be less analytical, to be less thinking, just do things and then see what works and what doesn't work, and then iterate. And as I said, if things fail, it's good, right? It's like jiu-jitsu. Imagine if you're walking into jiu-jitsu training and spent an hour thinking every move through in advance, and then saying so. It's kind of the same in business, right? There's benefits to being analytical, but sometimes you have to just go with the flow and figure things out, get beat up, whether it's literally in jiu-jitsu training or figuratively in business, and then start again. Just don't keep doing the same things, right? You don't keep jumping into the triangle.
Yeah, because if you could combine these two, if you could be a little bit analytical and a little bit doing straight away, I think it's a good mix. As Muhammad told me yesterday, it's like you have a gun with only 6 bullets, right? You cannot just shoot everything if you are only doing things, right? Because if suddenly you're ending up without bullets. So you have to aim and shoot. And then I'm telling him, if you have to aim, until you aim, maybe somebody shoots you from behind. And then so you have to combine these 2 things.
Yeah, and so just to wrap this up again, for your own personal perspective, as you're going through this journey, you said you're learning a thing or two. Do you look at yourself and say, okay, I have certain weaknesses in my business or in my kind of personal approach? Do you recognize those? And how do you go about kind of whether fixing things or doing something differently for the future?
Absolutely, I have a lot of what did you call it? I have a lot of flaws that I need to fix, but I'm working on it. So the thing that I've been doing lately is that I just write things I want to be better at, and it helps me a lot to just write things down. So I mean, no one is perfect, right? But you can always be better than you were yesterday. So that's my goal, just to be at least 1% better every day. And I think, in every business, it doesn't matter what business you do, what you sell, what service you provide. Just being a good human being, it will get you further away than anything else. So just be fair and good to people. I mean, people at the end of the day, everyone will know that you proceed. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone would know that you are not there for money, but you are there for the values that you give to people. So this strategy will never fail. Just be a good human being.
Yeah, and we had a number of podcasts over the last couple of weeks that we released, and that was the message from whether it's jiu-jitsu world champions like Muhammad Ali, the previous podcast episode we have, and he said exactly the same thing. It's like, nice. Be nice to people, and he has a different kind of business. He builds like his online communities and the exact same approach. Just be nice to people. It's good for you. You become a happy individual, less stress. And when people feel that warmth from you, they'll give you something back as well, and the same kind of kindness. So
don't mistake me, because I mean sometimes don't be fake either, right? If you feel something, you have to say something, just say it straight away, because then you are the other guy would also appreciate that. I have been meeting some guys, like I see that they do something wrong, and even their closest friends, they don't tell that to them because they're shy or they don't want to hurt their feelings and stuff. So sometimes I even just say to the guy, okay, bro, what you're doing is wrong. Okay, you do this thing happens, that happens, you hurt a lot of people's feelings, and this doesn't look good. And then he's like, oh shit, I have never thought about it this way. Everyone was supporting me, saying nice job. So just be real and nice to people, like Muhammad Ali said.
Brilliant. I think we'll wrap this on this positive note. So Hussein, thanks a million for talking to us. It's been great.
Thanks for having me.